Hey Grownups, I have something exciting to share with you. There's a brand new kids podcast out now that I think you're going to love. It's called Mysteries About True Histories. This show is perfect if you love adventures, solving riddles, and maybe even some wacky math problems. But I need a little help from some new friends to tell you more. Max and Molly, take it away.
From the creators of Who Smarted, Starglow Media, comes a brand new podcast called Mysteries About True Histories.
Does that sound serious enough?
Max, we only have 30 seconds for this promo. Just tell them how your mysterious aunt recruited us into a secret order of problem solvers who travel time and have epic adventures.
I don't have to. You just did.
Catch new episodes of Mysteries About True Histories every Thursday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Carter, and this is Wurttele.
Before we get started, I'd like to send a very special shout out to Rhea and Eliza and Adeline in Winterville, and wish a very happy birthday to Merritt in Austin, Texas, Kavita, and Elizabeth in Austin, Texas too. Grownups, just FYI, we've got 2 more episodes in the Girl Tales season. We won't be publishing new stories this summer. So, if your Tailblazer would like a birthday shout out during the summer months, now's the time to join Patreon, and I'll give them an early birthday shout out. Just head to patreon.com/girltales and join a team today. Make sure to join before May 22nd. Now, on to our episode. This is Allie Gator Comes to Freshwater. Enjoy! I'd like to tell you about a friend of mine. Her name is Allie Gator, and she's an alligator. Allie's parents, Sally and Dave, had a funny sense of humor. Maybe you're wondering, what's the difference between alligators and crocodiles again? It's something to do with their snouts, but it's also where they live. Crocodiles prefer salt water and live in Africa, Asia, Australia, North and South America, whereas alligators prefer freshwater and only live in the southern US and parts of China. Now, alligators are usually carnivores that we should stay far away from, but Allie Gator is a vegetarian. Her favorite food is cantaloupe. Allie is also a world traveler, something pretty rare for a reptile. She's been to Machu Picchu and Kathmandu. She's seen the Eiffel Tower and the Taj Mahal. She even took a tour of the Great Wall of China. Allie loves to travel, but she has a terrible sense of direction. Once when she went on vacation to Japan, she ended up in Puerto Rico. She still had a lovely time, but wished she had someone to practice her Japanese with. Another time, Allie was trying to get to Vancouver and ended up at the Hoover Dam. It's an impressive dam, but she had a hotel booked in Vancouver and couldn't get a refund. One other little problem when Allie traveled was people. You see, even though Allie was a vegetarian, she was still an alligator, and people are scared of alligators, which means a lot of screaming and running from the harmless vegetarian alligator. Allie would walk up to a group of tourists to say hello, and the next thing you know, the tourists would be shouting in German and running away.
Achtung, ein Alligator! Ich glaub, ich spinne.
Wait! I'm a vegetarian! But it was too late. On the one hand, she had every tourist attraction all to herself. On the other hand, she had a hard time making friends. It was her quest to make new friends that brought her to Freshwater. When school's almost over, we have a fair in Freshwater. There's a carousel and bumper cars and a Ferris wheel, plus all the best fair snacks like cotton candy and corn dogs and funnel cake. Everyone loves coming to the fair, but the biggest attraction is the cantaloupe eating contest. Farmer McDonald won last year, and Sasha the goat won the year before that. Allie Gator heard all about Freshwater and the cantaloupe eating contest and thought, that's the place for me. Talking animals and my favorite food. I am sure to make friends. But Allie's sense of direction steered her wrong. She took a bus she thought would take her to Freshwater, but ended up in another town called Sweetwater. From there, she got on a train she thought was headed to Freshwater, but she ended up in Saltwater. Finally, Allie chartered a plane through Freshwater's flight school and landed in Freshwater the evening before the cantaloupe eating contest. Allie was exhausted from all her travels, but she still had to register for the contest, so Allie thanked her pilot, who had locked herself in the cockpit away from the alligator, and Allie started off toward the Freshwater Fair. She could hear the rides and the laughter, and she smelled the funnel cakes. But as she walked toward the fair, she realized her sense of direction was steering her wrong again, and she ended up in a different part of Freshwater, in some fields behind the fairgrounds. "How did I end up here? I need to get back to the fair," Allie said. As she turned to go back the way she came, she saw a group of small animals sneaking across the field toward the bright lights of the fair. Maybe these were some of the famous talking animals of Freshwater, and they could be her friends. She hustled after them. "Hey, wait for me!" What Allie didn't know was that she was following the Wicked Weasel crew. Their favorite activity was wrecking the Freshwater Fair. Wally Weasel and his weasel gang were infamous for their misdeeds. Once, they popped 100 balloons at the Freshwater Library during quiet story time. Another time, Wally and crew toilet papered all the trees in Freshwater, including the tree my house is in. I woke up to a tree full of TP. But those weasels' favorite activity was ruining the fair. Every year they tried new mean pranks, and every year they got away with it. But Allie Gator had no idea about that, as she chased the Wicked Weasel crew across the field behind the fair. "Hello, I'm so happy to be visiting your lovely town of Freshwater," Allie called out to them. But the weasels didn't hear her. Allie thought to herself, "This reception is a little cold, even for a cold-blooded creature like me." She considered giving up the chase. Maybe she would never be able to make new friends. Maybe people and animals would always run away from her. Allie slowed down, thinking. Maybe her bad sense of direction and her being an alligator meant she should just go home to the ponds and rivers of Florida, where she grew up. The other alligators always thought she was weird because she was a vegetarian who loved to travel. But maybe back home she wouldn't have to hear so much screaming when she introduced herself. But then Allie thought of all the amazing places she had been, and all the thousands of places she still wanted to see. And if there was one place on Earth she could make friends, it was Freshwater. So she followed the weasel pack, determined to make friends with them, and enter the Freshwater Fair cantaloupe eating contest. The Wicked Weasel gang reached the fence around the edge of the fair and fanned out. Allie Gator was a fast runner, but the weasels were faster, and as they spread in different directions, she picked one weasel to follow, Wally. Wally slipped under the fence and into the fairgrounds, and Allie followed, all the while saying, "Hello, I'm a vegetarian alligator, and I'm so pleased to meet you." Why didn't Wally hear her? Because that wily weasel was too busy plotting. The Wicked Weasels had a plan to wreck the fair with string. Silly string, that is. They each had a bag with them, filled with cans of silly string, and they planned to cover the entire fair with it. Those rascals. Allie had no idea what they were planning as she followed Wally through the fair. "Excuse me, hello?" Allie yelled. Wally was small and quick, darting between shadows as he snuck through the fair. But Allie wasn't sneaking. She was walking and talking and drawing a lot of attention to herself. In Freshwater, we're used to magical creatures and talking animals, but large carnivores are still startling to see. So as Allie followed Wally, the fairgoers of Freshwater started to notice. "Is that an alligator?" Ms. Katrina Van Tassel shouted. Soon people and animals were running this way and that as Allie shouted, "I'm a vegetarian. I'm just following this weasel because I want to make new friends." I was at the fair when all of this was happening. I wish I could tell you I was very brave and walked right up to Allie Gator and said, "Hello, welcome to Freshwater." But that's not what happened. I grabbed my wife Pippa and our dogs Cheese and Sherlock, and we ran, screaming and barking all the way home to our treehouse. I found out what happened later from Allie. As the humans and animals and magical creatures of Freshwater went running out of the fair, the Wicked Weasel crew finally started to notice something was up.
Hey, Wally, what do we do? Everybody's leaving in a hurry,
shouted one weasel. "Stick to the plan," Wally answered. But when the weasel crew looked at Wally, they started shaking and quaking and began to run in all directions, dropping their bags of silly string. Wally watched them confused.
Willie, Waldo, Waddles, what are you doing? We've got a prank to pull.
But the Wicked Weasel crew were running off into the night.
What's going on?
Wally said. Then he heard panting behind him, the panting of a large carnivore. He slowly turned around as Allie introduced herself.
Wow, you are so fast. I mean, I can run 35 miles per hour on land, but usually I don't go very far at that speed. Phew. Anyway, I'm so glad you finally slowed down so I can say hello. My name is Allie Gator, and I'm a... Alligator!
Wally Weasel screamed. He dropped his bag of silly string and scampered off into the night, as fast as he'd ever run.
I was going to say vegetarian, Allie said quietly.
She looked around at the bright lights and flashing rides, the food stalls and picnic tables. All were empty now. She was alone. Again, with no friends, in the one town where she really thought someone would understand her. Her eyes felt hot, and soon big alligator tears were running down her snout. She slowly walked to the cantaloupe eating contest registration table. She knew no one would be there, but she thought maybe there'd at least be a cantaloupe to eat. And Allie hoped her favorite snack would cheer her up a little bit. At the registration table, there was a sign-up sheet for tomorrow's contest and a cantaloupe. Allie picked up the cantaloupe in her teeth and turned to leave, trying to figure out where she could go next.
"Hold it, Gator. Don't you want to sign up for the contest?"
a voice said. Allie looked up and saw a sparkly small flying woman, a fairy. She had never seen a fairy before. Allie tried to talk with the cantaloupe in her mouth.
"How about spitting out the melon, hun?" said the fairy. "I'm Fairy. Maybe you heard of me? From fairy tales?"
Allie's mouth fell open and the cantaloupe rolled out.
"You're the fairy from all the fairy tales?" "Yeah. You want an autograph?" "Well, maybe you could help me," Allie started to say. "I'm Allie Gator. I'm a vegetarian, though. I came here to make friends, but I'm having some trouble. Maybe you could grant a wish or something?"
"Oh, my little reptilian friend, you don't need magic to make friends because you already got one."
"Who? What am I, chopped liver?"
"You'll be my friend?" Allie smiled, feeling like her heart could burst.
"Allie Gator, you just scared off the Wicked Weasel crew and stopped them from wrecking the Freshwater Fair. True, you scared off everyone else too, but once people hear what you did, the town of Freshwater is gonna give you a hero's welcome."
And we did. Fairy spread the word about how Allie Gator, the vegetarian alligator, accidentally stopped the Wicked Weasel crew from wrecking the Freshwater Fair. The next day, everyone came to the fair to meet Allie. They apologized for running and screaming when they saw her. I apologized too. It's not fair to judge someone before you get to know them. Allie met so many people and creatures and took so many selfies and ate so much cantaloupe. I bet you're wondering if Allie Gator won the cantaloupe eating contest. I'm sorry to say she didn't. Tabitha Turkey won this year. But Allie Gator wasn't disappointed in the least. She was too busy making new friends and sharing all her travel photos and stories. Allie Gator and Fairy plan to visit Tibet next summer, and Allie's leading a tour group to New York City this weekend. Allie Gator still has a bad sense of direction, so there's a small chance they'll end up in New Haven or New Orleans, but Allie and her friends don't really mind where they end up, as long as they're together. That was Allie Gator Comes to Freshwater. Written by Tessa Flannery. Produced by Maria Wurttele. Performed and executive produced by Rebecca Cunningham. Girl Tales is a Cordelia Studios production. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. And Grownups, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for listening, and remember, I believe in you.